Hey folks, thank you again for joining us for another exciting episode of Yomo. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. So today we're on reflection 312 and
322.
320. What the hell is it 312 for? I don't know. Sounds yeah, I'm distracted today for whatever reason. Probably probably hearing Chris doing too much work. I get
Yeah.
distracted.
Do too much. Um,
Well, so 322, my bad, 322, and the book is The Art of War by Sun Tzu.
I mean, I had to read The Art of War. I don't know. You've always, I mean, have you read this book?
I have. I mean,
Yeah.
I read the condensed version of it.
There's a more condensed version of it. Like I
There's
thought
a
there was one.
longer version of it.
Really? I didn't know. I mean, I thought it was like a. I didn't realize there was a bigger book. Is there more? I thought it was only that small
Well,
one.
no, it's a translated one, right? So his book that he wrote originally, it's a long book. It's actually The Art of War with all the details and everything else.
Oh,
And so what we're reading is more like a summary of all the points that he mentioned. But
interesting. Well, I did not know that.
it's like a Bible. It's like a Bible.
I did not know that at all. Honestly, I thought it was like the one on Amazon. Is says it's 68 pages. I thought that was the one I read. Like it wasn't a long book. I was like, what?
Right, like you
where is?
say, like you say, it's 68 pages. Like I say, it's originally it isn't 68 pages. It's
I didn't know that. I mean,
I
I'm
mean,
trying to say, like, how long? How long
a
is it?
lot of generals are like covering
Oh,
this
here it
book
is.
among multiple years.
384 is how many pages? I didn't realize there was had no idea there was another actual longer version of this. Oh, well, maybe my opinion would be different of this because it was I thought it sucked. Like, so yeah. What's your thoughts on this book? I mean, do you like it?
I do. It's it needs. I think I've also read a short version as well
Mm-hmm.
because there is a long version, which is the original one is very long. Um, but I'm just saying it's a lot of the, I guess, a lot of the strategies and tactics that he mentions are essentially psychology, just psychology in general,
Mm-hmm.
right? And psychology about whether or not you want to make yourself bigger than yourself than you look, and you have to take in the account of a lot of psychological human nature that
Sure.
and
Oh no, I'm not saying the tips and strategies and topics talked about it in the book were bad by any means. I mean, I think
mhm.
they were good advice.
That
Yeah.
I think the one other thing that I probably don't like by the book is there's a lot of lessons, but um, it left out on a cohesive uh,
Ah,
usage
now
of
okay, all right.
what the whole thing is about and how you orchestrate all these tactics together. Right? So he presents you, these are the options, but well, I have all these fucking tools I have in my arsenal, but how do I use it? When I use it, how do I put them together? How do I mix and match? Blah blah blah. Right. So you can say, hey, true. Here is an arsenal of weapon you can use to defeat the enemy.
Right.
But at the same time, it's isolated. And so this is what you do in this situation. Blah blah. But as a whole strategy, how do I make use of it? How do I get all these things to work together? You know what I mean? So that
That
to me is a miss in terms of what I get from the book. So that's why to me
that's
the book is good, but it's not what I would expect from him. From the I don't know if they translated correctly, but I'm kind of disappointed in the book in a way.
agreed. I think you kind of hit the well you kind of hit where I'm going to go with this reflection because everybody quotes the Art of War, and I was like, I've read the War of Art. I thought that was a good book too. But
Right, right.
the Art of War. Everybody quotes the Art of
Sun
War,
Tzu.
right? And I was
Sun Tzu once said blah blah blah. But
right,
the thing is,
right.
that's one specific instances, right? How about the
Right.
overall overarching strategies of how do I get my army to be the greatest army in the world.
I'm going to take it to a different. I'm going to go that level and then one level higher, right? Because that's exactly what my reflection is about. So if you've ever read this book, each chapter starts off with Sun Tzu said, blah 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 blah, right? Well, my reflection title is a little pun on that. It's like what Sun Tzu forgot to say. And this is kind of in line with what you're saying, right? Great. All these strategies are great in the book, right? Like, cool. I mean, I was like, oh, neat. Sure. If I'm in a war and I ever find myself in a war, like I think, and this particular situation comes up, like, sure, I'll go run for my bookshelf and try to see if, what did Sun Tzu say?
Right. It's like it's like a book of let's say a book of medicine, right? Oh, you got a cold. Let's flip over
Right.
to the cold section. Say, okay, how do you make a cold compress or a flu bomb or whatever it is, right? Well, versus
health is such a good example to give with this, because who gives a shit if you're trying to combat strategies and tactics on how to combat disease and live longer if what's the point of living longer? Like, are you enjoying your life or not? Like, I mean, like, who gives a shit? So this is where I'm going with the art of war, right? Is you're definitely in my wheelhouse right now of where I'm going with this. So what, I think probably the best advice that I got, from this book was if you know your enemy, if you know the enemy and you know yourself, then you need not fear the result of 100 battles. And I totally agree with that, right? But what he never said was, why were we at war anyway in the first place? Why was Sun Tzu fighting? What was the point of the battle, right? Like, never, ever, ever was mentioned at all in this entire book. And from the start to begin, great. Like, the chances of you just magically popping into a war and being like, oh, we're at war, like, like, I don't know, and I don't know what to do, like, are an impossibility, right? Like, you don't just go to war, like a literal war, or even just a metaphorical war in other areas where it just pops out of the blue, where you're like, one day you're just peacefully walking along with a little bluebird on your shoulder, whistling at the sun, and then all of a sudden you're like, war, like it's not, that's not how this works, right? There's always a buildup to an epic clash between two people that are fighting for something, right? And what Sun Tzu never said was, why are we at war? What is the purpose of this, right? And for me, like, purpose is everything, right? Like, I mean, it really is. It has nothing, like, it reminds me back to the book of 1776 when we did a long time ago. I think it was Reflection 80, right? And I wrote the purpose always prevails in the end, because, like, the Revolutionary War is a perfect example of that. The British gave no fucks about, the American colonies. I mean, they kind of did, but the soldiers that were here, they're like, I don't really care. I'm just kind of here. Like, we cared a lot about our principles, our right for liberty, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We had a purpose for that fight, and we knew why we were fighting, and we knew what was in it. Now, that's great. If you have a purpose, I don't care how many soldiers you have. I don't care what mountains and hills and land and seas and whatever other strategies you want to deploy against somebody. I don't care how tactical you want to be. Like, when he who has a why can overcome anyhow, right? And we've learned that from, A Man's Search for Meaning, right? Like, so it's this whole book is a worthless piece of crap, in my opinion, because he never talks about purpose. Like, and purpose is everything, right? Like, it otherwise, what's the point? What's the point of trying to be healthy and be a centenarian if you're fucking miserable and hate your life? Like, what's the point of trying to hold on to the American colonies if you're Britain, if you don't really give a shit about it? You're like, I don't really care. What's the point of fighting if you're Jordan Peterson, when you're just trying to tell all the transgender people in the world that they're stupid idiots and mentally deranged, when you really don't care. Like, I mean, he really doesn't care. He just wants to make people feel stupid, and that's kind of his purpose, I guess, if you will. And he does a good job with that, but his purpose is not to actually stop, ideology from spreading in any way, shape, or form. He's just really trying to be a shithead, and here's the thing, is like, when you're just trying to be a shithead and you're just trying to deploy tactics and strategies to fuck with people, like, if you don't have a very clear purpose, you will stop. You will quit. There's no way that you're going to keep going. Like, not every strategy is ever going to work. And that's why I really thought this book was garbage, because what Sun Tzu didn't say was, what's the purpose? Why are we fighting? And that's the only thing you really need to know, right? Like, and if everybody believes what you're fighting for, I'm pretty confident that will win. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I can't disagree with that. I mean, from a perspective of a war, right? You're giving your life for a cause, and for a lot of times, if you're fighting for something you believe in, how can you wholeheartedly give 100% of your effort? If
You can't.
you think about purpose in a way, it is the multiplier of tactics.
Yeah.
And these tactics do give you an advantage only if the other person don't employ and exploit your disadvantages. And so, like you say, it's crap if you employ a tactic from Sun Tzu, but the other guys are not falling for it, and the other guys aren't gullible to not use some other tactic of their own. So you can't rely on Sun Tzu's book as a Bible to say, hey, I'm going to become the best general ever. That's not going to happen.
Right. It's like reading a
Uh,
managerial book and being like, oh, now I know
right.
how to lead a team. You know, it's like, or reading a book
Right,
on coding and going, oh, now I know how to code.
it's
You know,
garbage if
right.
you have a tool but you don't know how to use it. I give you a machine, right? I send you, I ship you FedEx machine, but there's no instruction. There's no way you use it. What's point of having it, right? And to me, in a way, most of the time, if you don't really understand the underlining purpose of the machine, for one, then you're gonna use it the wrong way. Let's say I send somebody a weapon, right? Imagine you're a kid, right? Imagine you're 5 years old, and I send you a gun, right? It's a weapon.
Mhm.
It's an advantage, but it's also a disadvantage that you're going to shoot your own foot just because you're an idiot,
I
right?
don't know
So
what you're
that's
doing.
for one, like the purpose of the object, and it's also the purpose of the overall strategy of the overall soldier in itself, because the purpose of that of the soldier, because you think about the purpose of the soldier is they're gonna give 100%, more than 100%, and even if you kill them, right? If you have a purpose, an army has a purpose. When you kill one person, the next person is gonna stand up. The next person is stand up. I mean, in the war, when there's a purpose, like there's five brothers in the war, and like the five brothers in the household. The first brother is gonna go, and then if the first brother died, the second guy is gonna take over. And the third guy and the fourth guy, and it's continuing. You cannot kill it. It's like weed.
Yeah.
When a country, when an army has a purpose, it's like weed. You cannot kill it. You cannot kill it. You can burn the whole fucking field and it still go back. And that's the power of purpose. Purpose is so powerful. And that's why I
It's
could
the
not
most powerful
disagree.
tactic and strategy. I mean,
It
like,
is
it
the
is the
most
only
powerful.
strategy. It's the only strategy in tactic. Like, the only way that you find the only way that a book like Sun Tzu's book becomes valuable is in the hands of somebody that has a purpose, because then they're going, oh, okay, I struck out here. I'm gonna go seek out some source of information or something to continue on, because I'm not giving up, and I know I'm not giving up because I'm going for something that's greater than me. Or you give this book to some idiot that just wants to read it, like, you know, and then they're like,
Yeah,
oh,
because
cool. Like, I mean,
you imagine that, right? Imagine that you need to do something. Okay, you have something that you design. So, for example, we take a health example. I love this life. I need to enjoy the life that I want. And when I'm sick, I'm gonna find all avenues to figure out how to cure myself of certain things. But
hmm,
if you're sick but you have a miserable life, you say, well,
okay,
I don't really
yeah,
care. If I die, I die, right? So that's the
whatever.
thing.
Yeah.
It's something with the war is, I mean, I can't disagree with you, because at the end of the day, without a purpose, these things means nothing. And so I think,
It means less than nothing. Honestly, it's worthless.
well, like, yeah, I agree. It means less than nothing, because in the analogy I give you, if I give you a gun but you don't know how to use it, more probable that you're gonna shoot yourself versus using it to defend yourself,
Sure.
right? And so you're gonna use this tactic and use it the wrong way, and people say, "Hey, he's using this tactic. I recognize it, so I'm gonna trap him by pretend to be trapped. Then he gets into my trap. You know what I'm saying? So you
Right.
are gullible enough to even to get yourself into trouble just because. you think you have this tactic. So without knowing, without understanding why you're fighting for, and understanding what these things do for you. And so, like I say, these are tactics, but anyone who can get a hand on the book doesn't make him or her a great general. It has to come
No.
from a person that's already a great general, understands the elements of war, understands the
Right.
you know, the emotions and psychologies of the soldiers, and the reason why what people fight. In that capable hands, then these tactics will assist and enhance that person's capabilities,
Agreed.
right?
Uh,
And so I think to me this is probably the most disappointment in terms of reading this book, just because this is a bunch of list of, hey, you know,
What's so disappointing is that so many people quote this shit all the time and just go, oh well, here's the tag. Like it
but
reminds me of my
but
own.
the thing is that they well, that's what people do though. People, like I
I
say, to
know
me,
it's so
the
empty and
thing that grinds
hollow.
my gears is what people regurgitate what they don't understand. Is they
Exactly.
go
This is my
they
this is
go
what I'm
and
saying.
regurgitate about, you know, the why. Let's say they saw something about someone's next you know, TED
Right.
talk, and they say, Look for the why. Look
Hey,
for
what's your why?
what do you
I'm on the Peloton and the crazy
what's your
lady going,
why?
what's your why? What's your purpose? Like, why are you here today? And I'm like, I just want to fucking ride a Peloton, lady.
And then say, hey, why aren't you putting a tent in the universe? You know,
right,
why
right.
are you here? Right.
I didn't
So
want to.
I mean,
I
you think
just
about it. You go and you look for like quotes or tweets from like people. It's like a bunch of nonsense. I just don't understand what these things are because I don't know the underlying story. But I would gander to guess that the guy who put them on these, you know, tweets or social media, what, he
right.
doesn't understand it either. He just regurgitates a bunch of things, right?
No,
And
that's
so
I mean,
when you quote Sun Tzu, or you quote Elon Musk, or you quote Albert Einstein, or you quote like Benjamin Franklin or Steve Jobs, whatever, I mean, to me, it's like at least try to understand what it is before you say, "Oh, it sounds good," and put them out there, right? Because when you tell me, you know, about the dead universe, I say, what does that mean?"
no, it's not even just that. Like it's it's you take a tiny little bit of a nugget. You read a story like The Art of War, and then you apply it to your purpose, right? But like the whole point of why we're even having this conversation is the nugget that I took out of this was if you don't have a purpose, this is fucking irrelevant. So maybe if I ever find myself back at war and there's a literal war that and my purpose of living for two somehow aligns to that war, and like I have to go fight that war, then maybe I'll come back to this book and I'll have like 10 lessons where I'm going to be like, okay, we tried this, we're going to try this, we're going to go this way. I agree with them here, I don't agree with them here, because we aren't giving the fuck up, right? Like, because I got to get through this thing that is blocking me, right? That is not what's happening in this book. Me reading this book is in trying to take anything out of it is exactly like what you're saying, is like that's
Right, like
just
I say, you know, I mean, this book, like I say, it's been written by this general, right? He's the greatest general of,
allegedly.
right, allegedly
Right. I mean,
the
we don't even
greatest
know who he
general,
is, you know.
and everybody is coveting this book, and
Right.
they trying to find it so they can become the great general. But a lot of it went into a lot of people's hands, but that doesn't make these people great general, because for one, when they read the book, they don't understand how to use it, even though it's written in plain English. Because the thing is, it's not about one or two tactics that you use. It's about how do I orchestrate all these tools and all these tactics together as an overarching strategy, right? That is the genius. That means that it is going to enhance the general who already are a good general, a great general. And
Right.
that any other general, it doesn't make him a better general. It probably make him a worse general because he doesn't understand what is written.
Have you ever seen the website Masterclass?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about? Okay,
Yeah.
like you can pick anything on here. Why is Serena Williams, like, you know, if somebody, when I was 5 years old, somebody gave me a racket, a tennis ball, and tennis shoes and put me on a tennis court, and they said, here you go. Now watch this video of Serena Williams, you know, playing tennis and you know, like whatever, right? Like, and
Mm-hmm.
like, here she is, right there.
Mm-hmm.
Now you could take the exact here's every tip that Serena Williams could ever give you over. She's the best female tennis player of all time. You know, won more majors than anybody else but Novak Djokovic and Margaret Court at this point in time. Yada yada yada. Anyway, you're like,
But
here-
don't you need her build to win?
no,
I
what
mean-
you need is her purpose, her drive, her reason that she fought every single day to try to get better at her. You can't recreate that. My point is, like,
You can't recreate anyone, because
you can't
I'm saying
recreate
is,
anyone, right?
In the whole entire history of humanity, there's no single person is identical to the next.
You only need a tactic when you need a tactic, right? Like, you can't just be given all the tactics. You have to hit a roadblock on your purpose and on your path and go, I need to figure this out now, right? That's how you level up, if you will. That's how you go from, you take a little piece of the Triforce and you're like, dun, 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 whatever. Oh my God, I figured this out. I hit a roadblock. I got to go figure this out, right? Like, that's when you go find another tactic or a strategy that applies to the problem that you are facing, that is aligning to your purpose of why you want to be good at something or not, right? Like, if you just get dumped on, if you asked me today, hey, Chris, how could you set up a world-class business development machine? Oh, here you go. Just do this, this, and this, and then somebody's like, well, that's it. Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's really it. Just do all that, and you'll have a world-class, lead generation engine, and or vice versa on your end. Like, you could say, hey, True, what, I want to be a world-class coder. How do I set up a world-class, DevOps team or whatever the fuck? I don't even know what you guys call your shit over there. You know what I mean? But like, oh, well, here you go. What would you say? I mean, like, here's the strategies and tactics you need to do. Like,
You need 20 years.
right. That's exactly the point. You need a fucking driving purpose and something that it literally attaches to your values and keeps you engaged in this all day, every day, and wanting to problem solve and fight through stuff, for the next 20 years of your life. That's what you need, and they're gonna go, what? That isn't an answer. I know it's not an answer, because Sun Tzu, can't give you that fucking answer. Like, it's not. This is the worst how-to book I've ever read in my life. Like I mean, besides that, it's irrelevant. What do you do when a fucking nuclear weapon, Sun Tzu? What does Sun Tzu say about nuclear bombs? What does Sun Tzu say about drone strikes? What does Sun Tzu say about
Well, you do this. Please leave my sin, because I'm about to go out.
I mean, his tactics. My point being is, his tactics and strategies are irrelevant anyway. Like, at a certain point in time, these aren't the only thing.
This is the sad reality of things. Is people don't understand shit, and they claim to understand just because they say, well, I can learn from Sun Tzu. I take the art of war and I can put it into business, right? Okay, well, does that equate, right? You say, well, I don't know, this sounds good, right? But
it does not.
Until you can recreate, because the thing is, you a lot of time people, what they do is they take something else as credit for something they think is the reason. Because, like, you talk about, like, for example, a placebo, right? They say, hey, I took this drug and it worked. It's probably because your body just naturally, cure itself of whatever. So
right.
This is another thing that I like about what Taleb was saying is, a lot of people don't understand that, hey, when you don't understand the reason something happened, you make arbitrary conclusions as to why something works. And say, well, most likely, let's say you have stomachache, right? Yeah, it's a tart cherry, right? It could be, yeah. Or it could be a coincidence. But that's the thing, is people don't understand. So they say, hey, I take this Sun Tzu's tactics and I apply it to my business, to life, and this is what happened, right? The thing is, no one knows. But that's what you do, is you base your life on these false assumptions, this false, I don't know what you call it, but it's a foundation of lies.
Yeah,
right.
You sleep on a bed of lies. Wait, what did Will Ferrell say? Here, keep going. Yeah.
But I'm saying is the sad reality is people are doing that over and over again, and it gets to the point where it is so ridiculous, right? That people have taken things and not even taking the whole thing. Like, they take, like, for example, we're talking about they're saying, people say, blood is thicker than water, right? they took that and they use it wrong, because it's not even the original intent or meaning of what that phrase means. You know, for
Right.
example, people say, hey, these two guys say about beaver must dam, right? And they do something completely opposite of the original meaning of what it means.
Right.
Same thing with the, hey, ought to run downhill, for example, right? Well, I'm so they literally take something and they turn it into something else without
Yep.
understanding the meaning of it, and sometimes just
The
chop
10,000
off
hour rule, like
10,000 hour rule, and they
like
just
what the
chopped
fuck is
off
it? Yeah.
pieces and just it just regurgitate everything out, just like as if they are like these uh, those birds that
Parrot.
we
Parrot.
the parrots, right? They just regurgitate what you say, and
Right.
it keep going, and it just whack
The
whack,
parrot. Yeah. Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
and to me that's sad though, because you're not of your own, and if you're not of your own, you will have a miserable life, because you can enjoy a life that you don't want, right? That to me, that's a premise of life. It's like if you're a beaver, you can't say, okay, I want to be something else, because they're gonna. And it's like things that you do, like
Like this.
the work that
The,
you do, right? The work that you do today, right? If you don't like it, it makes you frustrated. It makes you really, um, like emotionally stressed in a way. And so
yeah.
that's what I'm saying is when you are not you're not made to do certain things, and when you do things that is not within your realm of capabilities,
Sun
it
Tzu actually said this one very well. If you know yourself, which is what you're saying, you have to
mhm.
know yourself. Like, I mean, you can't, you have to know your purpose, what you care about, what you don't care about. How does this information align to you, not align to you? How do you take this, put this in your memory palace and block everything else out, right? How do you do this? And then how do you then go study if you do have an enemy that's blocking you, like how do you study that? How do you understand that? How do you overcome that, right? But this goes back to this is all about purpose and direction, right? Like you have to understand yourself to do anything, to go anywhere. Like tactics and strategies are fucking worthless, if you don't understand why you're trying to do what you're trying to do and how that is going to impact you or not. Like if you're a beaver, like you said, and a beaver must dam, like you definitely don't want to be trying to, learn tactics and strategies of eagles flying around and how they protect their babies and blah 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 blah, right? Like I
Exactly
mean,
right,
like
exactly right.
I
Because
mean,
you can't adapt a strategies of an eagle when you're a beaver, right? You have to
right,
use you have to know yourself,
right.
right? Because let's say you're a beaver and you are favorable and advantages in the water, right? Then the tactic and strategy has to be within your own capabilities.
Right.
Versus the, hey, I'm gonna somehow get into the air and flap my wings like an eagle and employ the 30,000 foot view of a bird's view eagle strategy, and whatever that means. Like, and that's completely useless. And to me, it's even impossible
Right.
for you to even try to be like an eagle. And ducks can go to eagle school. It's just one of those things.
It is.
You just can't take things out of context.
It is so easy when you don't know yourself, like you said, to take input from somebody else and go, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds good. I'm gonna go that way. And then oh, the next person tells you, oh, I'm gonna go that way. Oh, I'm gonna go that way. 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 And like then you're just all over the fucking place, and you're all
Then
over
you're
the fucking
nowhere,
place, and you're nowhere. Yeah, right.
you're nowhere. All right,
Right.
when you're everywhere, you're nowhere.
It's it kind of reminds me of the situation I was telling you about at work before this call that I was like, I don't really want to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it here. But like the perfect example is this person's trying to throw me off of myself. I know myself and I know what I'm trying to do. And this person is literally trying to actively divert me. Like it's like a little buzzing fly, and a part of me just wants to like literally just smack him, across the room. But at the same time, like I can't catch him, and that's fine. I'm not gonna let him divert me from where I'm going. Like I could easily just go, all right, that's it. I gotta go fight this fucking fly. No, you don't. Like the fly is gonna be fine. Like it's like the bull in the china shop, analogy from Homo Deus, where he says like a fly can't go into a china shop and do pretty much any damage at all, right? But a fly can piss off a bull and a china shop, and get them to go do all your damage for you. Like the
Right,
fly.
and this is exactly, applicable to if you know yourself, right?
Right.
You're a bull and you know your enemy, the fly, right? And the bull say, well, I don't need to be bothered by this fly. It can't do anything to me. Yeah, it
Right.
annoys me, but I don't
I
have
got
to
things to
go.
do.
I don't have to go and completely destroy the shop just because of this fly.
Right.
You cannot change my desire, my goal just because a fly annoys me, right? And
Right.
that's when a bull say, I'm a bull, right? And you're a fly. That perspective says a lot. And when you understand those dynamics, then the bull can be calm, can be patient, and be collective. And then whenever, I mean, and it can devise strategies that fit it. It's fitting for that situation where he probably get to smack the fly with his tail.
Or maybe he plays with the fly. Maybe like, starts dancing with it or something, and like learning how to, or maybe he just sits down and has a cup of tea. Maybe that was how bowls with tea ended up, like you start to see, I'm kidding. Like obviously,
Or you give the fly some honey.
or he gives him some money. Yeah, maybe he goes and gets him a snack and he's like,
Like,
hey,
I
here you go,
have some
fly.
honey
Like,
for you, fly, and then fly go,
go,
get stuck.
all right.
And the boy say, smack.
Right.
You think
Yeah,
about it. So thing the bull give the fly some honey. The bull gets the fly exactly where the bull wants it.
right.
Instead of the fly getting the bull to become angry and kick the shit out of the
It's
china
just
shop,
distracted. Like, I mean,
right?
it's
That's what I'm saying
distraction.
is when you understand the dynamic, the bull can easily turn the tide without having to do anything, and the result you see is a complete different because you see chaos, and the fly wins. From the little fly, it's able to get this bull to completely destroy the shop. Or on the
Yep.
other hand, the bull understands, hey, I'm a bull, I'm bigger, I'm stronger, right? And the fly's doing this, right? I can just give him some honey, and then
This is
when it gets
this is
stuck in the honey, I can just smack it.
this is what's going on with Israel right now and Hamas, right? Like, I mean, Hamas is a little tiny fly, and it provoked a bull, and now that bull's they're getting exactly what they wanted to. Like, they're gonna go in, they're gonna fuck some shit up. Where like you said, maybe there's a completely different approach where you're like, look, like when I don't know what the alternatives are, right?
But
This
that's what
is
I'm saying. It's the
they're getting exactly what they
first
wanted.
things first. For the first things first is
They're about to go to war. This is applicable for the
right.
art of war,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. But I'm saying it's like you agree with you. The first thing you have to do is you have to know yourself. You have to know
Right.
yourself. That's the first thing. That's by far the most important thing of all. You have to know yourself. Who are you? What kind of, what is your character? What is that as a person, as an individual, as an entity, as a
It's a
nation,
culture,
as
yeah.
a culture, whatever? You have to know what is this entity, right?
Mhm.
Who am I? What am I doing? What is my purpose? Why do I exist, right? The real reason why I exist, not some bullshit stuff like,
Right.
oh, back at 10 in universe because what else you gonna do, right? If you don't
Right.
have anything else, then don't do anything else. You
I
don't have to
agree.
pick one. It's
I
like,
agree.
oh, you have to pick one. Say, fuck you. I don't need to pick one. If I don't want it, why would I pick one?
Right.
So to me the answer just doesn't sound like logic. Hey, what else are you gonna do? It's like, I don't have to do anything. If I don't
Yeah.
want to, why would I need to go and stress myself to put that in your because there's nothing else to do?
Right.
If I want to put that in your because there's a reason why I want to do it, great, do it. No one's gonna stop you. Good for you. But if there isn't, then there isn't. But that's the thing is you have to understand yourself. When you understand yourself, you can do things that is aligning with who you are, and it's going to be optimal in the action that you take. But if you don't know how you are, and other people can control that, just like the fly can control a bull, because the bull doesn't understand the dynamics of the fly versus bull, and so the fly can get the bull to destroy the china shop. But if the bull understands himself, right, and because he understands himself, he can use that as a reference. Look at, there's some fly that comes in. Do I need to go and chase this thing and destroy the shop? Because if you don't do that, the emotions in a perspective is used the wrong way.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
So
like, what would happen if Israel right now just was like, okay, you know what? I don't want to play. Like we just want to. Our purpose is to have a nation state that exists for. I'm just guessing because I'm not
because
Jewish.
I'm saying that, you know, there is a certain dynamic, there's certain I guess list of things that you do, it aligns to who you are or who you think you are. Because if you don't have that, you live by what people think of you.
Yep.
Right? Because they say, well, Israel needs to go to war with Hamas because, you know, the world expects you to, right? Because you don't establish the character for yourself. If you don't do that, then the world will expect.
What's the point of Israel?
Like the world will expect you. The world will expect you to act in their own accordance, right? According to the world. And if you don't, and if you don't, you get pushed.
It's a bunch of noise.
The U.S. or the United Nations or the European will push you to do things they expect you to do. A lot of noise. But if you already establish yourself as a certain culture, a certain nation state, and then when you state that already, even if somebody nudges you, you say, well, this is not who I am, then they don't continue to nudge you. Just because, like, if I establish to you that I don't do things for peer pressure, like people can't pressure me and they stop. I mean, they don't even try. Just like I don't drink, right?
Right.
I don't drink alcohol at all. And in Asian culture, it's like it is very, very impolite and actually very rude to not accept drinks from an elder. And they do that. They for whatever reason they want you to drink, and they just hand you a cup, and you can't refuse, right? Even if it's to kill you, even if it kills you, you should drink. But the thing is, I don't drink, and so the thing is, if you establish yourself that way, they don't even offer, so they don't get, act in the face. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know exactly. I mean, I have a lot of really close friends back in college that smoked weed all the time, like every fucking day, all day long, like 5 times a day. You know, and every single time I'd be around them, they're like, "Hey, you want to smoke some weed?" Or they're like, "This is like these were people that I met when I was, like a freshman in college or something like that, in the dorms or whatever." And every single time I was around them, which was regularly, they're like, "Hey, you want to smoke some weed?" For the first, like, I don't know, 6 months that I knew them. But by after 6 months, I'm like, "No, I don't smoke weed. Like, I don't want to. Like, I have no desire to."
Yeah, but then like 6 months later, that's the thing is when I go to any parties now, it's like everybody that's there. Like anybody who's new who wants to go and give me a beer, they all intervene on my behalf. Yeah, like, hey, he doesn't drink.
Chris doesn't smoke weed. Don't even ask him. Like, it's fine. Yeah, you're wasting your time.
So I don't do anything anymore, right? Because everybody I know around me expects who I am. So they actually intervene on my behalf. So I don't even have an issue.
Right. But there's the one time that you do have a glass of wine or whatever, everybody's like, "Oh, Drew's gonna have a glass of wine." Like, like the one time that I would smoke weed with them, like, like it was once a year maybe or something like that. And they were like, "Oh my God, yeah, it's like a big occasion, like, we're
like a celebration."
It was like a celebration, It's like, and I was like, "Oh, all right, fine. Well, we'll have some fun." And I didn't like it, because I would always do it and I would never like it. That's why I didn't like to. That's why I don't do drugs. Like, I've never been somebody that does drugs. I hate drugs. Like, it's every single time that I've ever, besides drinking, like the only like for substance, like that I've ever enjoyed at all was alcohol. Like, everything else was like, I can't stand it. There's no appeal to me, and like, I don't want to deal with it. So I just didn't, and I just made that known to everybody, and then that's that. Like, I mean, like, it's like they'll stop asking you, like you said, like, if you know who you are. Otherwise,
know who you are, and then exudes the character of who you are. Like, be authentic, right? Because the thing is, I say I know who I am, but then I pretend to be someone else. And I say I don't drink, but then I say, hey, I'm the best drinker in the world. What do you think that happened when I give the impression that I'm a drinker, right? I say I wear a shirt, I drink 5, I drink before
Jaeger bombs all day, right? Like, you have like
whatever, right? I mean, it doesn't work.
9 o'clock, like you.
So the thing is, a lot of time it helps a lot to exude your authentic self. Like, this is who I know yourself, and exude authentic self. Like I say, when I go to any parties in any Asian culture parties, like, everybody knows who I am, and everybody knows me in those scenario. And any newcomers comes and even attempt to do that, they probably get cut off by other people before it even gets to me. So there's no moment that I have to disappoint somebody.
Right. Well, but that you know, you don't have to fear the results of 100 battles. Is like, because you know what the results are going to be if you know why you're doing what you're doing, and you know, and you're able to do that. Like, I think it's the moral of this whole entire reflection story is like, fine, if you want to go to battle. But if you find yourself at battle and you don't know why you're at battle, then leave. Like, now,
Just don't,
like,
just don't engage. Just don't engage in the battle. Like, if you don't know why you have to fight, then don't fight.
It's not even worth it.
Like I say, if you don't know why you exist, doesn't mean you have to pick something to do.
Right. Exactly. Like, you could just hang out. And
that's just silly. That's just absurd.
You know?
That's what I'm saying. Is, I just don't understand why people say, "Oh, it sounds good. Let's put it in the fucking universe," just because it's like, okay, is that who am I supposed to be? Right? That's not the question, right? The question is, who am I supposed to be? It's not how do I put it in the universe? Because who told you have to put it in the universe?
Steve Jobs did. That's who told him that, and I guess they.
But that's Steve Jobs' life. That's not my life.
Well, it's funny. It's funny. Steve Jobs said, put a dent in the universe. Steve Jobs said, be a dick to everybody that's around you. Steve Jobs said, right? Yeah. Elon Musk said, Benjamin Franklin. Yeah. Benjamin Franklin said, I actually don't even know what Benjamin Franklin said. But the point, like, who cares? Like, about quoting.
A lot of people quote people without we know who said it. Like, Einstein never said that. Benjamin Franklin never said that. Lincoln never said that. It's just somebody just I think Lincoln said this, or they just completely just.
That's actually
a bunch of lies.
That's actually I've heard there's the story behind, like, the 10,000 hour rule story is like, like, where'd that come from? Like, nobody knows. Like, I mean, it's like, I don't know. Like I don't know who people say it's Malcolm Gladwell, somebody named someone Erickson, someone like, where did that come from? Like,
Gladwell got it from somebody, and somebody got it from somebody, and over the years, just like you start daisy chain this gossip, right? Right. You have this one gossip, it's like, hey, this person dropped the ball, right? And then suddenly over here is somebody having a chair. It's like, where the fuck would that come from?
And then it gets down to some dad that has a kid that's 5 years old, and he's like, and the kid's, he wants him to be a professional baseball player, and he's like, 10,000 hour rule. We got to get you in there for 10,000 hours. That's the tactic. That's the strategy. Like, and you're like, if you do this, you'll be a pro. Like, I mean, like, it's not. That isn't how it works. Like, like you said in this book, just because you know how to fight a war, like, you think, that does not mean that you or that your son, just because you think you know how to get your son to become a professional athlete, like, doesn't mean that person wants to be that, and there's some purpose behind it, and that they have they have to have some agency in this whole entire thing, right? Like, it's not, I don't know, strategies and tactics are worthless, honestly, unless they are worth their weight in gold if they're
they are enhancers.
It's garbage,
right? They are an enhancer. It cannot be on their own. So that means I'm saying is, you have to have already a purpose. You have to be already great at what you do. Yes. You have to be passionate about enjoying the things you do, and these things can enhance it. It doesn't replace anything, because without without the vessel, without the ability for it to contain and move on its own, right? It doesn't work. It cannot attach to something, right? It's basically, hey, this is the wing, but you have to attach the wing to something.
Right, it's worthless.
Right, the wing can't exist by itself.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
so the wing can't just fly, right? You have to attach this to something for the wings to work, for it to fly, right? The wing makes you fly, but the wing can't fly on its own.
Awesome. So, all right, what Chris Sears said is, Chris Sears is tired, and he needs to go to sleep. So, so I think Chris Sears is done talking for the night. Are you any final thoughts for you?
Yeah, I'm done too.
I'm so tired. Once again, able to sustain energy because these are always fun conversations. But, like, I told you before I jumped onto this, I was like, Oh, I'm like, I'm gonna go crash so hard as soon as we hit end on this recording. I'm gonna say goodnight and I'm gonna go to bed.
With that said, good
With
night.
that said, good night. The question we can leave for you all is, what are you fighting for? And you know, if you know that, then you don't have to fear anything really at that point in time. Well, thanks for joining, and we will see you on Monday.
Monday. Sounds good. See ya.